Please rise. Please be seated. The records show the presence of all jurors, counsel, and the defendant. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this concludes the closing arguments. I now have two brief closing instructions to give to you. I'll explain the verdict form, then we're going to pick the alternates, and then you'll be discharged to go and begin your deliberations. Final jury instructions, two final jury instructions are as follows. The jury foreperson. When you go to the jury room, you will choose a foreperson. The role of a jury foreperson is important, but please remember that the foreperson's opinion about the case is not more important than that of the other jurors. The opinions of each juror count equally. The jury foreperson's responsibilities include the following. 1, make sure every member of the jury is present during all discussions and deliberations. So in other words, there's no discussions, no deliberations unless you're all present, even if someone just steps out to use the restroom. You all have to be present. The jury person is to preside over deliberations and make sure that the deliberations are conducted respectfully and that all issues are fully discussed. The discussions should be open and free so that every juror may participate. All jurors should be allowed to state their views about the case and what they think the verdict should be and why. All members must agree unanimously on any verdict. Therefore, the foreperson should count the votes to ensure that every juror has voted. If you reach a verdict or verdicts, fill out the verdict forms and then sign the form on behalf of the jury. That's what the foreperson does. If the jury reaches a verdict, the foreperson will inform the bailiff. When the jury returns to the courtroom, the foreperson will bring the signed or unsigned verdict forms, as well as any question forms that have been used. When you return to the courtroom, the court will ask the foreperson whether the jury has reached any verdict. The foreperson will respond yes or no. The foreperson is not expected to read any verdict to the court. That will be done by the clerk. The case is now submitted to you for a decision. When you go to the jury room, you will choose the foreperson. He or she will preside over your deliberations. I suggest that you discuss and then set your deliberation schedule. You are in charge of your schedule and may set and vary it by agreement and with the approval of the court. After you have decided on a schedule, please advise the bailiff. You are to discuss the case and deliberate only when all the jurors are together in the jury room. Do not discuss the case with each other or anyone else during breaks or recesses. The admonition that I've given you before and during the trial remains in effect when all of you are not in the jury room deliberating. After you're setting your schedule, I suggest that you next review the written jury instructions and the jury verdict form. It may be helpful for you to discuss the instructions and verdict form to make sure that you understand them. Again, during your deliberations, you must follow the instructions and refer to them to answer any questions about applicable law, procedure, and definitions. Should any of you or the jury as a whole have a question for me during your deliberations, or should you wish to communicate with me on any other matter, please use the jury question form that we have provided to you. Your question or message must be communicated to me in writing and must be signed by you or the foreperson. I will consider your question or note, and I will consult with counsel before answering it in writing, and I will answer it as quickly as possible. Remember that you are not to tell anyone, including me, how you stand numerically or otherwise until after you have reached a verdict or after you have been discharged. All 8 of you must agree on each verdict. You must be unanimous. Once all 8 agree on a verdict, only the foreperson need sign the verdict form on the line marked foreperson. You will be given verdict forms, and I'm going to review those with you now. So, what happens? We hold the projection. Can I use it? What happened? Yes. All right. Let me have it. Well, I was hoping to put it up here while I discuss it with the jurors. I didn't realize. Well, you don't have the one that I did. You know what, right now, I do want to discuss this. I want you to see it as I'm going through it. I'm sorry, I thought I had that projector's been up the whole trial. I just assumed it was still up there. All right. So he can email it to. Okay, appreciate that. So while they're doing that, let's discuss something I was going to discuss with you after I went over the verdict form. Anyway, scheduling. As I said, we're going to pick the alternates. You're going to start to deliberate. We shut down the courthouse at 5 o'clock. So when you're still deliberating at 5 o'clock today, we're just going to excuse you for the day. You're not going to have to come back into court. I'll send the bailiff in, and he'll tell you your excuse for the day. Then you can set your schedule. We expect you to come back tomorrow and keep deliberating. You can decide what time to start. The courthouse opens at 8 o'clock. If you want to start at 8:30 or 9, it's up to you. Okay? So you'll be discharged for the evening tonight at 5 o'clock or before if you want to go home earlier. Set your schedule. Let the bailiff know what time you want to start tomorrow so we can have security there to let you in and so forth. And tomorrow, as you're deliberating, again, you can take lunch, go out for lunch from 12 to 1:30 if you want a break. If you want to eat lunch in, the clerk and the jury commissioner, he'll bring lunch in. Let us know, but you kind of got to let us know by like 10 or 10:30 because, you know, ordering and getting everything prepared, we got to start that process ahead of time. If you tell us at 11:30 or 12, you won't get fed until 2 or 2:30, the way things work. So let us know if you want to eat in and keep deliberating, or you can take a break from 12 to 1:30, whatever you want to do. Just let the bailiff know. As this instruction said, any questions or any comments, any communication between the jury and the court has got to be through the bailiff. It has to be done in writing. Everything has to be done in writing. It should be a note either signed by the foreperson, or if any of you individually want to send a note through the bailiff. And as I said, I'll get it, I'll confer with the lawyers, and we'll come up with a written response. Exhibits. When you go back to deliberate, the lawyers and the clerk will be working here with the bailiff to put together all the exhibits that we'll bring back into the jury room. You'll have access to everything that was admitted as an exhibit at trial. Now, there's some things, obviously, we're not going to bring back there and just... So anyway, we're going to bring everything back there that I approve of for right now, but there are going to be some things we're not going to bring back there, but you can still have them. For example, you know, clothing, bloody clothing, coats, you know, firearm, shell casings, you know, those physical exhibits will remain here, but they are accessible, all right? All you have to do is write a note saying, we want to see the clothing, and someone will bring it in and you'll be able to look at it, for example. Now, some things were admitted and electronically. There's some recorded statements, some videos, some 911 calls, and those are all electronic. Those are accessible to you as well. Just let us know what you want to see. If you want to see them, then we'll have one of our tech people bring in a laptop computer. I think there's a television monitor on there, and they will play for you whatever you want to see. And then they'll remove themselves so you can talk and deliberate about it. So if you don't see something in the jury room, it's because it's just not appropriate to bring it in there at the present time. If you want to see it, tell us, ask for it, and then we'll have it brought to you. All right? That's going to take a little while to get together, because with a lot of exhibits in this case, though, it may take a half hour, an hour or so to get what we can bring back there to you. All right, how are we doing? Oh, there is? Okay, great. All right, do you have that on your screens? All right, thank you very much, Counsel. Yeah. All right, so this is the form of the verdict. We, the jury, duly sworn and impaneled and sworn in the above title action upon our oaths, do find the defendant, George Allen Kelly, on the charge of second-degree murder on January 30, 2023, as the result of the death of GCB as follows. All right, thank you. Check only one. All right, so this is the charge. Count one of the charge against the defendant. Second-degree murder. Check only one. Guilty, not guilty, unable to agree, or guilty. All right? Now, we have these lesser-included offense instructions, lesser-included offense charges that the lawyers have argued to you. The verdict form explains to you when you go to those and what you do with respect to them. Lesser-included offense verdict on manslaughter. Manslaughter is one of the alleged lesser-included offense instructions. It's a lesser-included offense of second-degree murder. If you find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder, do not complete this portion of the verdict form. In other words, complete this portion only if you find the defendant either not guilty of second-degree murder or you are not able to decide. All right? Real simply, if you find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder, you don't go to the lesser-included offense instructions. If you find the defendant not guilty of second-degree murder, or you're not able to agree, then you check not guilty or unable to agree, and then you go to manslaughter. All right? Are you with me so far? All right, it's a little confusing. All right. So, if you get to manslaughter because you found not guilty or unable to agree on second-degree murder, then we, the jury, impaneled and sworn the above title action and upon our oaths to find the defendant, George Allen Kelly, on the charge of manslaughter on January 30th, 2023, as the result of the death of GCB as follows. Check only one. Not guilty, unable to agree, or guilty. All right? Now, there's another lesser-included offense instruction, and the second lesser-included offense charge is negligent homicide. The jury verdict form explains to you how to deal with that. Lesser-included offense verdict on negligent homicide. If you find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder or manslaughter, do not complete this portion of the verdict form. In other words, complete this portion only if you find the defendant either not guilty of second-degree murder and not guilty of manslaughter, or you are unable to decide on either of those other charges. Then you render a verdict on negligent homicide, the second lesser-included offense instruction. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above title action and upon our oaths to find the defendant, George Allen Kelly, on the lesser-included offense of negligent homicide on January 30th, 2023, as follows. Check only one. Guilty or not guilty. All right? All right. You may not have any questions about that now, but if you go back to the jury room and at some point, if you're not sure about what you're supposed to do with respect to these lesser-included offense instructions, send out a note, and we'll come back in and I'll try to explain it in a better way or differently. All right? There's only one form of the verdict. That'll be sent back into the deliberation with you. Leave those copies of the final jury instructions on your seat. You're going to get a one final copy for use of all the jurors. Any questions about setting your schedule?
Josh, did you want to go over count two?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, count two, thank you. Sorry about that. Count two is straightforward. There's no lesser included offense instructions on count two. Count two deals with the separate victim, who is Daniel Ramirez. That's count two is aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above title action and upon our oaths to find the defendant, George Allen Kelly, on the charge of aggravated assault, deadly weapon, January 30th, 2023, as a result of his conduct against Daniel Ramirez, guilty or not guilty. No lesser included offense instructions concerning that particular charge. Sign foreperson with your name and your juror number and whoever the foreperson is, because we've protected the identities of all jurors, that will be ultimately redacted from the final jury form, so don't worry about that. All right. Now we're going to pick the alternates. As I told you, the way we do things in state court, we never know who the alternates are. There will be 8 jurors who will deliberate. We're going to pick 4 alternates. We have a very high-tech method of doing this, okay? And just to show you, so I believe in transparency, here's how we do it. All right, ready? This is our high-tech method. Well, there's always controversies about ballots and ballot, counting and stuff like that. So let's just keep it low-tech, okay? So each of your numbers has been put on a piece of paper by the clerk. She's folded them up, and there's 12 little pieces of paper in here. I'm going to blindly pick them out, then I'll give it to the clerk, and she'll read the name of the first alternate. We'll pick all 4 alternates right now. If your number is called, just please remain in place because I have some final words and instructions for the people who will be alternates. All right?
Juror 10. Juror 4.
Is it just one?
Yes.
Juror 8. Juror 3.
All right. Jurors 3, 4, 8, and 10. Talked about this once before, but let me remind you. I'm going to excuse you in a moment, and if you have things in the jury room, you can go get them. If you want to say goodbye to your fellow jurors, you can do that as well. The admonition that I've given you about not talking about the case with anybody, not doing any research, not doing any investigation, staying off the internet, staying away from all exposure to anything having to do with this case, is still in effect. It's in effect until we call you and tell you that you are released from the admonition. Remember what I said yesterday in response to the questions from one of the jurors. The reason that we do that is these 8 persons who remain are going to go and start deliberating. If one of them has some kind of personal issue, a health issue, a family issue, some kind of emergency, and we need to excuse the juror who's deliberating, then we're going to pick one of you from those, one of the 4 of you, just the way we did. We'll call you, and you'll have to come back and join the deliberations. And then we'll have to start all over, but that's okay. And this does happen. You can't predict emergencies or things like that. So it does happen that we have to call alternates and say, come back in, we're going to need you to deliberate. Once the jury has reached a verdict, you will be immediately notified, you'll be told that you're released from the admonition, and you'll be told what the verdict is. Any questions about that from the alternates? All right, before you go, I probably won't see you again, and neither will the parties. I just want to, on behalf of everyone here in the court, and I want to thank the 4 of you who served as alternates. On this, we have all talked about, informally among us, what a terrific jury this was, how much attention you paid, how engaged you were, and the great questions that you wrote. I just want to, it's been a tremendous commitment. I'm sure it's been kind of an emotional experience for you. I hope you found it valuable and rewarding. I'm sure it's been stressful, especially with the admonitions and the controls that we put on you. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you did. I hope you learned something, and I hope you found it was a valuable experience. And if I don't see you again, my sincerest thanks for your service in this case. All right, I will say goodbye to your fellow jurors, and then I'm going to excuse the 4 alternates, and that the remaining 8 jurors will remain in the courtroom. So jurors number 3, 4, 8, and 10.
Please rise and get the floor.
The remaining jurors, please remain in the courtroom. And then, you stay. And you can leave your notebooks in the jury room. All right, please have a seat. And now I'm going to ask the clerk to take them out over here. The clerk's going to swear you. I'm ask the clerk to swear in the bailiff.
Do you solemnly swear that you will take charge of this jury, that you will conduct them to a private and convenient place to inquire into the offense submitted to them, that you will not suffer any communication to be made to them, and keep them until discharged, so help you God?
All right, thank you very much. We give the verdict forms to the clerk to be delivered to the jury. Anything else before counsel, before I excuse the jurors to begin deliberations?
No, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're excused to begin your deliberations. As I said, we'll excuse you right before. Yes, leave those there. Please leave those copies of the jury instructions there on your seats. As I said, you'll get a court final copy for your use among yourselves in the jury room. We're going to excuse you a little bit before 5 o'clock. Let the bailiff know what time you're going to come back tomorrow and what you want to do for lunch and all that. Any questions from the remaining jurors? Very well. Thank you much, ladies and gentlemen. The bailiff can take you out. You're excused to begin your deliberations.
Please rise and report.
And the record will reflect that the jurors are beginning deliberations at 2:40 p.m. All the jurors are absent. You can be seated. Counsel, if you would work with the clerk of the court and the bailiff to identify make sure that the exhibits that are admitted that are going to the jury room are consistent with your records of what's been admitted. I think we pretty well know what's going to go back there and what's not going to go back there. If they, as I told them, if they want to see something that's in some electronic format, we'll let you know, but basically they'll tell the bailiff and we'll send somebody in there from either from security or the bailiff or a technical person to let. And a laptop, okay. If there's questions and how do you want us to contact you, I really like to deal with the questions as quickly as possible. I know your office is a little ways away. Do you want to do it remotely? I really, go ahead.
We were probably just going to hang out.
Oh, that's fine. All right, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. If you decide to go back to your office, let us know so we can
Will
make
do.
arrangements. All right, anything else? All right, we'll be in recess, pending jury deliberations.
Please rise and report.